There was a point in my life where I thought breaking meant failure. That falling apart meant I had lost. But what I've learned is this: ChatGPT said, breaking is the beginning of becoming, because it's in the moments when everything falls apart that the truth of who you are begins to surface. We spend so much of our lives trying to keep everything together. Our image, our relationships, our dreams. But sometimes life forces us to confront what's been holding us back by tearing it all down. The breaking hurts because it challenges the illusion of control. It exposes the cracks we tried to hide and brings every hidden weakness into the light. But that's where real growth starts. When you stop pretending you're fine and face what's broken within you. When you break, you're not being destroyed. You're being stripped down to your most authentic form. Everything falls away. The mask, the comfort, the distractions, gone. What remains is raw, unfiltered truth. And that truth is where becoming begins. In the process of breaking, you discover the layers of yourself that you never knew existed. You start to understand that pain is not just suffering. It's communication. It's your mind, body, and soul telling you that something has to change. Breaking forces awareness. It demands honesty. It demands action. You can't stay who you were once you've seen what breaking reveals. And though it feels unbearable, it's the most sacred moment of transformation. Because in the ruins of what was, you find the foundation for what can be. Most people try to avoid breaking. They cling to stability, to comfort, to old identities. But there's no rebirth without destruction. There's no evolution without endings. You can't build a stronger structure without tearing down the weak one first. The breaking is not a sign that you failed. It's a signal that you've outgrown the old version of yourself. When you reach your breaking point, you face the edge of your limits, and in that confrontation, you learn that you are capable of far more than you believed. You start to rebuild not from pride or perfection, but from honesty. You stop chasing what doesn't serve you. You stop pretending you're okay when you're not. You stop living to please others and start living to become yourself. That is what the breaking gives you. The power to rebuild on truth instead of illusion. Every great transformation in life begins this way. The seed must crack open before it can grow. The night must fall before the dawn arrives. You must be broken before you can become whole. So, when you feel shattered, when life feels like it's collapsing around you, understand that you are not being punished. You are being purified. The breaking isn't the death of you, it's the awakening of you. It's the moment when you stop existing as a version of yourself that was built for survival and start creating the version of yourself that's built for purpose. Every tear, every failure, every heartbreak carries a lesson, and each one is pushing you closer to who you're meant to become. You can't skip this part. You can't fast forward through the pain. You have to let it do its work. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that the breaking wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to you. It was the best. It was the moment you finally stopped pretending and started becoming. Pain is the price of transformation because every great change in life requires something to be broken, released, or endured. You can't evolve without experiencing the friction of growth. Pain is the fire that burns away weakness, the force that tests your will to change, and the teacher that reveals what comfort could never show you. People often crave transformation without understanding that it demands sacrifice. You cannot step into a higher version of yourself while holding on to everything that made you who you were. Pain strips away what no longer serves you. It challenges your limits, exposes your insecurities, and forces you to confront the truths you've been running from. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, and it's real. But that's what makes it powerful. Without pain, change remains an idea. With pain, change becomes inevitable. The process of transformation is rarely graceful. It's filled with doubt, fear, and exhaustion. You'll question why it has to hurt so much, why you can't just evolve peacefully. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. Muscles don't grow without tension, and character doesn't form without struggle. Pain is the signal that you're being reshaped into something stronger. Every time you push through discomfort, every time you refuse to quit despite the ache, you're forging a new identity. It's not just about surviving the pain. It's about understanding it, listening to it, and using it as fuel. Pain doesn't just happen to you, it happens for you. It carves depth into your character. It teaches patience, humility, and gratitude. It reminds you that everything worth having has a cost, and the cost is often the willingness to suffer for something greater than comfort. When life tests you, when it hurts to keep going, that's not punishment, it's preparation. The pain is shaping you into the person capable of handling what you've been asking for. You can't expect to step into greatness with the mindset of comfort. You can't demand strength without enduring the weight that builds it. Transformation is earned in the moments when you want to give up but don't. The moments when your body screams stop, but your spirit whispers keep going. That's where the new you is born, not in the easy days, but in the days you had every reason to quit and didn't. Pain becomes the price you willingly pay because you start to see what it's giving you. It's not just suffering, it's shaping. It's creating endurance, resilience, and power that can't be taught in comfort. And though the pain may feel endless while you're in it, it eventually reveals its purpose. Every scar becomes proof of your evolution. Every struggle becomes a lesson in strength. The version of you that emerges after pain is unrecognizable from the one who entered it. That's because pain doesn't just change you, it recreates you. It takes your weaknesses and forges them into armor. It takes your doubts and turns them into drive. Transformation is not free. It demands that you trade who you are for who you could be. And that exchange will always hurt. But once you've paid that price, once you've walked through that fire, you come out on the other side with something far more valuable than comfort. You come out unbreakable. Letting go to grow is one of the hardest lessons life teaches because it requires releasing what feels familiar, even when it no longer serves you. Growth demands space, and you cannot move forward while your hands are full of the past. Holding on feels safe because it gives the illusion of control, but real progress begins the moment you have the courage to let go of people, habits, fears, and identities that keep you small. The act of letting go isn't a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of strength. It takes far more courage to walk away from what's comfortable than to stay trapped in what's familiar. Every great transformation begins with a moment of surrender, a quiet decision to stop forcing what no longer fits your future. The truth is, we often cling to what's hurting us because it feels known. The mind resists change, even when the heart is ready for it. We tell ourselves stories about why we must hold on out of loyalty, fear, or nostalgia. But growth requires honesty. And honesty reveals that sometimes what we're holding on to is exactly what's holding us back. You cannot step into a new chapter while rereading the last one. You cannot rise while dragging the weight of everything that no longer aligns with who you're becoming. Letting go means trusting the process of becoming. Trusting that what's meant to stay will stay, and what's meant to leave will make room for something better. It's the painful but necessary pruning that allows your soul to breathe again. Letting go doesn't always happen all at once. Sometimes it's a slow, silent unlearning. You stop answering calls that drain you. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. You stop pretending to be who you used to be just to make others comfortable. And little by little, you start to feel lighter. The fear that once kept you chained begins to loosen. You start realizing that peace is more valuable than attachment. You start valuing your growth over your comfort. Letting go teaches you that not everything broken needs to be fixed, and not everything lost needs to be replaced. Some things are meant to end so that new beginnings can take root. Growth doesn't happen by addition. It happens by subtraction. Every time you release what no longer serves you, you make space for something new to enter. When you let go of negativity, gratitude fills its place. When you let go of fear, courage begins to grow. When you let go of the need to control, peace finds you. The soil of transformation is cleared only when you remove the weeds of the past. That's how you grow, not by holding tighter, but by loosening your grip and allowing life to unfold. It's not easy, and it's rarely painless. But every ending carries a hidden beginning. Letting go to grow means accepting that not everyone, And not everything can come with you into your next season. Some chapters close because you've learned what you needed from them. Some people walk away because their role in your story is complete. It hurts, but it's necessary, because when you stop fighting to keep what's fading, you create the room for what's meant for you to finally arrive. The moment you surrender the past, you reclaim your power. Growth starts when you trust that what's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. It's only when your hands are empty that you can finally receive what's meant to be yours. Discipline is the architecture of the new you, because it becomes the structure that holds your transformation together when motivation fades and life gets hard. It's the silent force that builds strength, character, and consistency brick by brick. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, every time you choose focus over distraction, every time you honor a promise to yourself, you are laying another stone in the foundation of your new identity. Discipline is not about punishment or restriction. It's about construction. It's about designing a version of yourself capable of handling the weight of your goals. The old version of you is built on comfort, impulse, and convenience. The new version of you must be built on order, patience, and purpose. That structure doesn't appear overnight. It's built through repetition, through doing the hard things long after the excitement is gone. Discipline doesn't shout. It whispers. It's not glamorous or dramatic. It's the quiet decision to keep moving forward when no one is watching. It's the early mornings when you rise before the world does. It's the late nights when you stay committed, even when exhaustion creeps in. It's the refusal to be ruled by emotion. Most people chase motivation because it feels good, but motivation is fleeting. Discipline is permanent. It's the framework that allows you to perform even on the days you feel empty. It's what separates who wish for change from those who build it. The disciplined mind doesn't depend on feeling ready. It depends on being prepared. It acts because it must, not because it feels like it. Every great transformation has discipline at its core. Without it, even the strongest desires crumble under pressure. With it, even the smallest steps compound into unstoppable progress. Discipline teaches you that results are not born from grand gestures, but from small, consistent actions repeated every single day. It transforms effort into identity. When you practice discipline long enough, it stops feeling like an obligation and becomes who you are. You no longer force yourself to stay consistent. You simply do, because that's who the new you is built to be. The structure of your life becomes stronger, more stable, and more aligned with your purpose. You stop chasing balance and start creating it through intentional action. Discipline also rebuilds your relationship with yourself. Every time you keep a promise, you reinforce self-trust. Every time you follow through, you remind yourself that your word matters. That's how confidence is built, not through external validation, but through internal proof that you can rely on yourself. Discipline is the blueprint that turns vision into reality. It's what bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's not always pretty. It's not always exciting, but it's always necessary. There will be days when your emotions try to pull you off course, when comfort calls louder than purpose. That's when discipline steps in. It becomes your compass when motivation disappears, your armor when doubt attacks, your anchor when chaos tries to shake you. You may not see the results immediately, but discipline never fails. It compounds quietly until one day you wake up and realize you've become someone entirely different. Someone stronger, steadier, and more capable. The architecture of the new you stands tall, not because you never fell, but because every time you did, you got up and kept building. Discipline made that possible. It turned your intentions into actions, your struggles into structure, and your potential into permanence. That is why discipline isn't just part of transformation. It is transformation. It's the design, the framework, and the foundation of the person you were always meant to be. The rebuilt version is unrecognizable because true transformation doesn't just polish the old you. It completely reconstructs you from the ground up. When you truly commit to rebuilding yourself, you don't go back to who you were before the pain, before the struggle, before the breaking. You evolve into someone entirely new, someone forged in the fires of discipline, self-awareness, and resilience. The person who emerges after the storm doesn't think the same, act the same, or see the world the same way. The old patterns that once controlled you lose their grip. The old fears that once held you back no longer define your choices. You become unrecognizable, not because you've lost yourself, but because you finally found the version of you that was buried under years of doubt, fear, and comfort. Rebuilding yourself is not about recovery. It's about rebirth. The process forces you to question everything you once believed about yourself. It demands that you dismantle the lies you've lived by, the limits you've accepted, and the excuses you've repeated. Each time you break and rebuild, you shed another layer of who you used to be. You learn that pain was never punishment. It was preparation. Every struggle, every fall, every disappointment carved away a piece of the person you were never meant to stay. And as the unnecessary parts fall away, what remains is something purer, stronger, and far more aligned with your purpose. The transformation is so deep that even you can barely recognize yourself when you look back. The things that once triggered you no longer have power. The people who once doubted you no longer matter. The weaknesses that once defined you become your greatest sources of strength. When you've been broken and rebuilt, you carry yourself differently. There's a calmness in your strength, a quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. You don't chase approval anymore because you've learned that your worth doesn't come from others. It comes from the battles you've fought and survived. The rebuilt version of you doesn't seek shortcuts or comfort. You've learned that real growth is earned, not given. You've learned that pain can be a teacher, that solitude can be healing, and that discipline is freedom. You stop running from challenges because you've already faced worse and made it through. What used to break you now builds you. The storms that once terrified you now remind you of what you're capable of enduring. Becoming unrecognizable means your energy changes. Your focus sharpens. Your vision expands. You start to attract different people, different opportunities, and different experiences because your frequency no longer matches who you used to be. The same environments that once satisfied you now feel too small. The same conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. You begin to crave depth over distraction, purpose over pleasure, and growth over approval. You no longer move to be seen. You move to become. The rebuilt version of you doesn't emerge overnight. It's shaped through countless moments of choice. The choice to keep going when quitting felt easier. The choice to forgive instead of resent. The choice to believe in yourself when no one else did. Each decision adds another layer to your strength. Each challenge refines your character. Each failure builds your foundation. And eventually, you reach a point where the reflection staring back at you is no longer the same. It's someone refined by adversity, sharpened by experience, and grounded in truth. That's why the rebuilt version is unrecognizable, because it's the real you, the one that life's trials had to carve out of stone. It's the version that no longer fears the breaking, because now you understand it's the only way to become whole.